All right, so global reactions to a hypothetical Trump win, huh? Feels like the world's bracing for round two.
Yeah, like a political earthquake, right?
Totally. And you dug up some fascinating reports from the BBC.
Oh, yeah, some great stuff. Ukraine, Middle East, Russia, even back home in the UK, it's wild how everyone's reacting so differently.
It's not just about policies, is it? It's about the whole vibe.
Exactly. It's the perceptions, the gut reactions, and the BBC correspondents are really capturing that immediate mood, like in Ukraine.
Let's party and more hunker down.
Yeah, Kyiv's definitely not breaking out the champagne.
Yeah.
Imagine if it had been Kamala Harris, though.
Totally different, right?
Yeah, with Harris, there's that sense of, okay, we know what to expect. Predictability, continuity. Trump, not so much.
Throws the whole playbook out the window. Remember that whole 24 hours to solve the conflict thing?
Oh, classic Trump. Big promises, zero detail.
Seriously. Is he going to pull a Nixon and suddenly befriend Putin? Secret peace plan, stashed in his golf bag.
Your guess is as good as mine. And that's what's making everyone so nervous, especially Ukraine. They're literally fighting for their survival. Every decision from Washington has huge consequences for them.
So how's Zelensky handling this?
Carefully, it seems. He congratulated Trump, sure, but he's also pushing hard for expanded targeting rules for Western weapons.
Interesting. So he can hit targets inside Russia.
That's the big ask. He's clearly worried about Russia's growing alliance with North Korea.
Wait, North Korea's getting involved?
Potentially. There's even talk of North Korean troops joining the fight.
Whoa. Okay, that's a whole other level of scary. And what about the big question mark hanging over everything? Will a potential outgoing Biden administration actually give Ukraine the green light to use those weapons inside Russia?
That's the million-dollar question. And it really shows how much leverage Zelensky has or doesn't have in this crazy transition period. Can he influence U.S. policy in these final weeks? Ukraine's going to be on edge for a while.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, let's switch gears to the Middle East. Things are, well, complicated to say the least. Netanyahu congratulated Trump, but even he seems to know it's a gamble.
It's like riding a camel through a sandstorm. You might get where you're going, but it's going to be a bumpy ride.
Definitely cautious optimism, right?
Exactly. Trump's talking about peace deals before he's even sworn in, which gives some Arab leaders hope. But let's be real, his track record isn't exactly reassuring.
Yeah, remember that whole Iran nuclear deal thing?
Not exactly subtle.
More like a bull in a china shop.
Yeah, and don't forget about Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Trump's tight with the kingdom, and he could push hard for normalization with Israel.
So many variables in play. Will Trump give Netanyahu free rein? Will he actually push for peace? Or will his art of the deal instinct just blow everything up?
Who knows? It's like we're watching a high-stakes poker game.
And the stakes are incredibly high. This freer hand everyone's talking about, especially for Israel and their dealings with Iran.
Especially worrying with Iran being so close to having nuclear weapons.
Throw in Trump's past hawkish stance.
And yeah, things could escalate very quickly.
Definitely a recipe for tension.
It's a powder keg, that's for sure.
Speaking of powder kegs, let's head over to Moscow. I bet they aren't throwing a welcome back party for Trump.
Yeah, no ticker tape parade in Red Square for this one. The Kremlin's been pretty quiet, actually.
Keeping their cards close to their chest.
Seems like it. They're mostly emphasizing U.S. hostility, blaming America for all the drama in Ukraine, that kind of thing.
Fool me once, shame on you.
You're right. Yeah, they learned their lesson with Trump's unpredictability last time.
But some things never change, do they?
Nope. And some of Trump's campaign talk probably music to their ears.
Like what?
Well, he wasn't exactly bashing Putin, was he? And all that questioning of U.S. military aid to Ukraine plays right into their narrative.
So maybe not a love fest, but...
More like the enemy of my enemy, you know?
Right, shared interest, not a bromance.
Exactly. And I read some Russian analysts even think a Trump win could mean the U.S. steps back from the world stage.
Wow. Like a retreat from superpower status.
That's what they're saying. It's a big gamble, though, for everyone.
Yeah, who knows what the consequences of that would be. Okay, let's jump over to the UK. Ben Wright's report makes it sound like they're having a bit of an identity crisis over there.
Mixed bag, really. Labour supporters are obviously bummed.
Understatement.
Yeah. And the Conservatives are trying to put a good spin on things, but it's clear this puts a strain on the whole special relationship.
I imagine it's a bit awkward. Like when your crazy uncle wins the lottery.
Kind of. The U.S.-UK relationship's always been complicated, though, right? Ups and downs.
Like any family. Sometimes you love them, sometimes you want to.
Hide the good china.
Exactly. And they've definitely butted heads before. Vietnam, the Falklands.
Yeah, but this feels different. A Trump-Labor dynamic. That's uncharted territory.
So what's the prediction? Business as usual with everyone pretending everything's fine?
Hard to say. Could be a total meltdown.
The end of the special relationship as we know it?
Maybe. But it shows you just how much American politics affects the whole world. Doesn't stay in Washington.
Right. Okay, so we've heard all about how the world's reacting to a hypothetical Trump win. Lots to unpack.
Definitely.
But let's step back for a second. Why should all this matter to our listeners? Why should they care about what's going on in Kiev or Moscow?
Because it does matter. We live in a globalized world. What happens in one place affects us all.
Right, like a chain reaction.
Exactly. A decision in Washington could embolden Russia. Something happens in the Middle East, it could destabilize the whole region, affect oil prices.
And even something like this special relationship with the UK seems far away, but it affects trade deals, intelligence sharing.
Right. Global reactions, it's not just about following the news. It's about understanding the forces that shape our world.
The stuff that actually impacts our lives.
Exactly. And that's where critical thinking comes in.
Love that.
We've given you expert insights, but it's up to you to analyze it, form your own conclusions.
Don't just take our word for it.
Right. Dig deeper, get different perspectives. The world's complicated.
No easy answers.
So ask yourself, what patterns are you seeing in these global reactions? What surprises you? What worries you?
And here's the big one. What do these reactions tell us about the challenges and opportunities a potential Trump administration might face on the world stage? Yeah, those are the big questions we should all be thinking about, no matter what side of the political fence you're on.
Because the world really is watching. And the decisions made in the next few months, years even, they're going to echo for a long time, shape the whole geopolitical landscape.
So we've gone from Kiev and all that anxiety to, cautious optimism in Jerusalem.
Right.
And then Moscow's kind of just playing it cool. And across the pond, well, the UK seems pretty freaked out.
Yeah, it's safe to say a Trump victory has definitely shaken things up. Everyone's trying to figure out what it all means.
Like trying to read tea leaves?
Exactly. And that's what makes this deep dive so important. We've gone deep into all those hopes and fears, the calculations, everything swirling around a potential Trump Part 2.
Right. A sequel nobody was really asking for.
Exactly. But we've seen how one election can set off a chain reaction across the globe. Alliances shift, conflicts erupt, that whole balance of power starts to teeter.
And it's not just some abstract political theory. This stuff affects real people.
Oh, absolutely.
Decisions made in Washington, Moscow, Kiev, they have ripple effects everywhere.
It's all connected. And that's why we need to look beyond the headlines, understand the nuances, the human stories behind all the politics.
What surprised you most during this deep dive?
Good question. I think it's just the sheer amount of uncertainty. Everyone's holding their breath, waiting to see what a Trump presidency 2.0 will actually look like. Will it be a repeat? Will he change his tune? Who knows?
Yeah, buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah.
And that's why we do what we do, right?
Yeah.
Try to make sense of this crazy world.
Exactly. The world's changing every day, and we're here to help you navigate it.
So stay informed, stay engaged, and don't forget those critical thinking skills.
The more we understand, the better we can handle whatever comes next.
Well said. And that brings us to the end of this deep dive. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and follow us for more. And share this episode with anyone who, wants to understand the world a little bit better.
It's complicated out there.
It is. But hey, stay curious.
Voice